Homes. Yeah, certainly no surprise with those delays due to that wet weather. Of course, it's nowhere near as bad as what we saw last weekend, but it doesn't help when you have to deal with the elements for, of course, those first responders, those Hydro One crews, and those cleanup crews. That rain seen in Toronto as well, along with some foggy conditions, quite dreary, and a big difference from what you saw yesterday with all of that sunshine. 11 degrees, though, just now outside the Toronto airport. It's been wet mostly in southern, eastern, southwestern Ontario. The little bit of snow left is up in the north of Timmins, and that's where temperatures remain a tad bit cooler, near the freezing mark, a tad bit below the freezing mark. And for the most part, that rain will push out heading into the overnight. So things will dry up in central Ontario for the next few hours. Heading into the day tomorrow, in fact, things will look way better when it comes to the sunshine. Sunny skies in Sudbury, Muskoka to start off the day. They could see some periods of snow, but southern Ontario, once again, southwestern and eastern sections of the province, well, it will be dry for the course of your Sunday, and a lot of sunny breaks as well into the afternoon. The big story is rolling in Monday. It's that spring snow on the way, along with some cool downs, which will certainly make a difference when it comes to how things feel like outside. It is seasonal for that overnight low tonight. 1 degree in Toronto, -1 in Peterborough, 2 degrees in Kingston. Heading into your day tomorrow, 6 degrees, but windy from the north-northwest, and that will add a bit of a chill to the air, feeling closer to +3. Kat?
Thanks, Noor. Mississauga is... Time now to check in on the long-range weather forecast, and Noor Rafat joins us here. Noor, it has been a challenging couple of days, a lot of messy weather for many communities, making it quite difficult, and we're not quite out of the woods just yet on that.
Yeah, that is exactly the case, Catherine. We know that some communities are even seeing rain or snow this weekend. We will expect to see things get a bit wintry heading into the second week of April. So thinking snow on the way, cooler temperatures. How long will they last? Let's find out. Another switch up in the cards tomorrow. Expect sunshine for the Toronto region. That's good news, but temperatures will feel cooler than today. 6 degrees for that high, but factor in the wind chill with some of these windy conditions, feeling closer to +3, and it'll feel below zero rather in the early morning hours. So do make sure you bundle up wherever you're headed. There is a lot of cool air around St. John's, Newfoundland, Labrador. Some communities -22, so breaking temperature records just yesterday. 11 degrees in Toronto, and you can see there's a lot more mild there in western sections of the prairies. Finally, this is something that many have been waiting for. It'll take its time before it starts to move out to the eastern prairies, but they will get a taste. And for some communities, for many communities towards southern BC, a lot of rain on the way. Rain in Ontario as well. This is what things looked like for this side of the country. Some snow as you push east, but heading south of the border, that's where things get really tricky. Outbreak of tornadoes devastating southern USA and the Midwest as well. Several people dead and some serious damage in areas like Arkansas, like Missouri. The good news is that severe weather will remain south of the border, but we've got our own weather problems to deal with, and that will be that snow moving into Monday. So it'll be heavy towards the north. Some of that snow could linger, some of these bands could linger into Tuesday thanks to the lake effect, and that will be the case around parts of Georgian Bay. So again, Sunday, not expecting a whole lot. Sunny breaks in store for a lot of communities. And then heading into Monday, well, it starts off sunny if you're in Toronto, Niagara Falls, Peterborough, Tweed, London, Ontario. And then that snow moves in later on in the evening, 4 or 5 o'clock. Some rain associated with it. And here is that lake effect making way for slightly more accumulations as the day progresses into Tuesday. So the heaviest amount still expected around the north, and that could be upwards of 20 and nearing 30 centimeters. And barely a trace, if at all, around Niagara Falls, Toronto, even Windsor, not seeing any of that snow accumulate. It will definitely be a shock to the system, though, once you see the temperature change. Look at that cool air settling in, -1 for the high in Toronto, and it will feel closer to -10, potentially with that wind chill. Things warm up slightly, heading into the weekend, still below average. But we'll take it. Messy weather on the way for Thursday with a mix of rain and snow.
several parks near the Credit River this weekend over flooding concerns. Officials say heavy rain has left the ground saturated and water levels high, making conditions dangerous. Meadowvale Conservation Area, Streetsville Memorial Park and Arundel Park are among those shut down. Residents are urged to stay away from watercourses and drive with caution. Parts of Ontario are still reeling from last weekend's storms, with heavy rain earlier today delaying power restoration even more. Hydro One says more than 100,000 customers are still offline across the province. Peterborough remains one of the hardest hit areas, with more than 14,000 homes still in the dark. Restoration may stretch well into next week, especially in remote regions.
We're still at 14% of the county population remains without hydro. So very concerning. It's about safety for our residents.
Well, it's, at a time of crisis, there's one thing about the citizens of Peterborough City and County. They're resilient. They help each other. Out, and it never ceases to amazes me the generosity of people in a time of crisis, and that's exactly what we're into right now.
There have been individuals who have dropped off coffee and donuts to the hydro crews, and those are things that are good to see. These guys have come into town. They are working 16-hour days to try and get the power back up, and they seem to be very happy that they're here doing this.
Officials say more than 2,000 broken poles have been identified, forcing entire sections of the grid to be rebuilt. For more on your first look at the forecast, here's weather specialist Noor Rafat. Hey, Noor.
Hey, thanks very much, Catherine. Yeah, no surprise to see delays in that restoration effort because of that heavy rain. Of course, it's nowhere near as bad as what we saw last weekend, but not the best time for Hydro One crews, cleanup crews to be outside. Things have dried up the past few hours in the Peterborough region, and so too in the Toronto region. Very mild, 7 degrees with some cloud cover, and the fog starting to subside. Temperature-wise, well, it was an incredible warm-up today. 11 in Toronto, 11 in Hamilton, Peterborough around 9, although it's not showing up on the map. And that mild air created some of that foggy situation that we saw after what was a cool Friday with plenty of sunshine. And not a lot of sunshine today thanks to that rain, but I did mention it is moving out of the province, now into eastern Ontario and slowly into Quebec, heading into the overnight. We are expecting more precipitation on the way, but not tomorrow. Tomorrow starts off sunny, and the bulk of your morning into your early afternoon will remain sunny in southern and eastern Ontario, but things will cloud over in anticipation of what's to come Monday, and that's something that we've been talking about the past few days, the return of that spring snow. So we'll talk more in the full forecast, and I'll tell you all you need to know about your morning commute and your afternoon commute on Monday. We've been getting into some cooler air the past few hours, and that means temperatures dropping to a seasonal overnight of 1 degree in Toronto. Tomorrow, 6 degrees for that high, but some windy conditions from the northwest, making for wind chill values feeling closer to +3. Kat?
Thanks, Noor. Time now to check in on the long-range weather forecast, and for that we're joined by Noor Rafat. And Noor, some people might be thinking, oh, it's time to change the snow tires, but from what you're saying, it might be a bit early for that.
Yes, a bit early for that, unfortunately, Catherine, considering still we're in the second week of April, which is well into spring, but not according to Mother Nature.
No, not at all.
Yes, so we can't have nice things for now, but what we can have is some spring-like snow, and that's on the way as early as this upcoming week. Let's take a look at how it'll affect your viewing region. We're not going to see the temperatures take a hit just yet tomorrow, but we are seeing cooler air move in, and that will make for a slightly cooler wind chill value. Around +2 to +3 is what it will feel like in the afternoon, but plenty of sunny breaks to keep you company. And do be mindful of those gusting winds up to 40 to 45 kilometers per hour, especially into the morning and afternoon. We've been talking about temperatures for the last little while, wondering where is spring? Well, It's not in Calgary because they just skipped straight to summer. 20 degrees with some sunshine tomorrow. It is just a dream, and I know eastern sections of the prairie is itching to see these temperatures. The mild air is trying to push through, but the cold air is winning the battle now. It's been pushing through or gusting from the north and keeping those central Saskatchewan, central Manitoba and southern Manitoba temperatures at bay. For now, they will get their turn later on in the weekend. And many communities in eastern Canada will also start to see some warm-ups later on in the week. But of course, first, that cold air moves in and dips those temperatures down. So looking at some snow and rain this evening into this side of the country where things are most severe, southern USA and the Midwest, an outbreak of severe thunderstorms, and it has just been catastrophic in areas like Arkansas, like Missouri, tornadoes, at least 12 people dead in torrential rain. You can see in the next 24 to 48 hours, the severe weather remains south of the border, but we've got our own weather problems to deal with, and it's the arrival of that winter snow, or spring snow rather, heading into Monday. So let's take a closer look. Tomorrow, as I mentioned, plenty of sunny breaks southern eastern Ontario, starting off with snow into the afternoon in areas like Sudbury, Sault Ste. Marie, and it gets heavy into central Ontario Monday morning, but into Toronto, you could see that snow and rain mix move in 3, 4 o'clock, maybe even later, pushing east. Those bands that you're seeing right here, well, that's that lake enhancement starting to kick right back in, and that will make for slightly more accumulations for areas towards southern parts of Georgian Bay as the day progresses. So some of the heaviest amounts expected now around the Sudbury region could see near 30 centimeters. The good news is it does seem like Hydro 1 is done with restoration in that part of the country, so not too worried about restoration crews when that snow arrives. 5 degrees on Monday. Windy conditions, and things get windier on Tuesday. Gusts up to 60 kilometers per hour. A high of 0 degrees, but feeling closer to -10. That's that cold air settling in. Heading closer to the weekend, temperatures slightly on the climb.